is playing as Supergirl.
This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action.
This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Birthright.
And you're listening to the Krypton Report.
And you're listening to Krypton Report.
Up in the sky, look!
It's a bird!
It's a plane! It's the Krypton Report!
The All Things Kryptonian podcast, including Superman and Supergirl.
We discuss games, movies, cartoons, TV shows, and comics.
Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. If you've enjoyed Krypton Report, please check out the other podcasts available from Southgate Media Group. From Capes and Lunatics, which is everything you could possibly want from a geek podcast, to Nuff Said, Capes and Lunatics Sidekicks, Titans Talk. If you're like me, you can't get enough of your DC. And you can also check out Super Connectivity, where they discuss everything in comics. Also, they do discuss Marvel. That's something you don't hear much from me. So, check it out, southgatemediagroup.com.
Look in the sky. Superman is coming. It's so awesome.
Welcome to the post-crisis Krypton Report. We are broadcasting now from Prime Earth. And before we get started, we're just going to give you a quick rundown of some things that bothered me. Are you ready? You ready, boys and girls? Okay. DC properties that were not represented in Crisis on Infinite Earth. Just to think about for a second. The Superboy TV series. Wonder Woman with Linda Carter, which is ironic considering Linda Carter was on Supergirl. The Adventures of Superman, the old Superman and Batman serials. Those are a little bit more understandable. Krypton, Gotham, Swamp Thing from the 90s. The Swamp Thing movies, the first one being directed by the late Wes Craven. The Shazam TV series and Shazam serials. Both understandable. And then, the one that gets me the most, Lois and Clark. Why wasn't we not any nod to Lois and Clark? I mean, come on. Really? You had both Dean Cain and Terry Hatcher in there at some point in time. But I digress. Now let's get back to our regular broadcasting programming. Thank you. And welcome back. Here we are, fellas. It's our first post-crisis episode. Well, kind of two episodes because we're going to put them together. Because if you can't tell, if you listen to our last episode, I was still really, really sick.
And I still have my cough. I can't get rid of it. It's been over a month now.
Mine's barely there. You'll hear it. And a lot of times because I talk for a living, so my throat gets really dry. And it's late at night here in the wastelands of Krypton, also known as Ohio, where it's cold and miserable. But
you'll hear mine as well. You'll hear me unwrapping cough drops from time to time.
How about James? You okay over there? Sound like you're just chewing on gravel.
Yeah, pretty much.
But we're gonna pack some stuff into this episode. I also want to give a shout out. I got the Superboy right here, the great Solomon. He's here with me. You want to say hi, Solomon?
Hi, everybody.
Come here and say hi. Come here, pal.
Hi.
That's right. That's the great Solo. Just turned 5. Big 5 man. So we're going to crank it out. First, we're going to start with a little bit of news. We are about, what would you say, James? About a week away, a week and a couple of days from Birds of Prey?
Yeah, well, just under 2 weeks. So
it'll be a week on Friday.
We're 4 days away. So, we're like 11 days away from Birds of Prey.
And, I mean, we did get our second Birds of Prey trailer, so we're just going to kind of touch on that because we never got to talk about it. It was better, We saw Harley do some more Harley things, like with a bazooka. But the best part of the trailer really was seeing Roman put on the mask and seeing Black Mask.
Don't forget the canary cry.
And we kind of get the canary cry. But, I was talking with a lady on Facebook today, and the thing about this movie that's really got me interested is the fact that this movie is extremely under-promoted. Like, this is almost like, I feel like this movie's kind of like the DC movie that DC's like, hey, here it is, let's just kind of release it and see what happens.
You know what? I honestly don't agree because it's the only thing DC that is being promoted.
Well, I mean, they didn't do.
If you watch,
tickets aren't on sale.
like, no.
And they didn't do any special early screeners for like Amazon Prime people, like they did with Shazam and Aquaman. Like there's been no energy. Like I mean, those movies tickets went on sale like a month plus before it came out, and I've checked every day, and they're still not on sale.
No, I've looked. They're not on sale. I mean, it's the only thing that DC's promoting right now. If you're watching any CW show, it's the only movie trailer, TV spots they're showing. If you are on the CW app watching the shows, which I usually am catching up because I don't get to catch them, every one of them live, then every time it goes to commercial break, an ad break, you're seeing a TV spot for Birds of Prey.
Yeah, I mean they're promoting it that way, but I'm saying like there's the online buzz and power that like we felt for Aquaman and Shazam that we're gonna feel for Wonder Woman. It's just not there. Yeah.
Well, I certainly, and yeah, we're gonna feel it for Wonder Woman because Wonder Woman's huge. The Wonder Woman movie was, the biggest and longest running DC movie, probably to date. Not the biggest to date, but the longest running. It had the longest legs. It was in theaters even longer than Aquaman. Wonder Woman. They're gonna promote Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman again pretty hard. I think with this movie, the way that they kept budget costs down and stuff, I think that they're, kind of doing the same thing with marketing. Maybe they're hedging their bets just because it's going to be more niche as say Joker was. It's rated R, it's lower budget. It's a little different than your big superhero fare like Aquaman and Shazam. Kind of froze for a second.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in this movie, and I'm going to go see it for sure because I'm supporting DC. But I don't know. I have an issue when it's like the Birds of Prey, but there's no Batgirl or Oracle. Like, there's no Barbara Gordon, and they don't really have, like, I like my superhero TV and movies that have their costumes, okay? That's part of the fun of these films. Just like I complained about, at Titans at times, they didn't wear their costumes enough, especially in season 1. They did better in season 2.
I don't think so.
They did better. I'm not saying they didn't put it where I wanted it, but they did better.
I was going to say, I think the only reason they did it better was because there were more people in costume. I think when it comes to, like, the times they should have been in costume, like, they just literally walked out in street clothes to do their hero thing most of the time. And, like, that's one thing, like, if you merge some things with, like, the CW and the DC universe, like, you bring over the fact that they use the suits in almost every single episode multiple times in the CW. You know what I mean? It's a staple of the CW. And that's why for whatever reason, such great suits, and they don't use them in Titans.
I mean, you always see Barry in his Flash suit. You always see Melissa as Supergirl.
As I say, there was one episode last season when she wasn't Supergirl, when she was trying to be Kara and make a difference. And that's the one episode out of the entire season that she did not wear the suit.
You know what? And I'm okay with that because guess what? It's one episode. And the other thing is, it's one of my problems I have with Legends, is they don't ever wear the suits. And now, I mean, they're so far beyond, like, the comic book characters. Citizen Steel basically he hardly ever wears his suit. Adam wears his more than anybody. But I mean, White Canary barely wears her suit, and even then, like, that was a character created for that show. You know, Heatwave never, like, he doesn't even wear, like, the Heatwave. He has, like, this new black jacket and jeans Heatwave.
Yeah.
You know, and, like, so that's a whole nother, like, spiral. And, I mean, Constantine wears his suit because his suit is, you know, a trench coat and a tie and stuff, so.
Yeah, his is quite easy.
But, I mean, we're going to talk more Birds of Prey as we see the movie and review it.
I'm excited to see it. This trailer did make me a little more excited. Just there's a little bit of story involved. We did get to see Black Mask. We got to see a little more stuff that's gonna make the movie R-rated. They're still marketing as a Harley vehicle, so okay with that. You know, I mean, she's the marketable character. Some comic book stuff, the roller derby and the canary cry and the crossbow for Huntress. So there's a few things. I'm definitely gonna see it, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, and we're gonna talk about it, and
yeah.
I mean, and I have no problem that it's all female. Like, I could care less. I just want a good movie.
Oh yeah,
you know,
that doesn't even. I don't even bat an eye at that.
Everyone tries to say that, like, if something fails or succeeds, it's like, you know, like the Ghostbusters reboot. Like, oh, people didn't like it because it was all women. No, people didn't like it because it wasn't done well. Okay, I mean, it was more like a living cartoon. But for something that said it wanted to be a fresh reboot, you pretty much copied the template of the original movie. But that's another conversation. Excuse me. But yeah, I mean,
or the second Charlie's Angels remake.
Yeah, I just, you know, honestly, I didn't see it because, frankly,
I haven't seen it either.
I can't stand Kristen Stewart. I like Elizabeth Banks a lot. I like that she's in it. She directed it, and that actually made me want to see it.
Yeah, me too.
I probably will pick it up on, like, Redbox or something and check it out. I heard something.
Yeah, it's got the girl who played the Pink Ranger in the Power Rangers movie, the reboot movie, or the remake movie, and then she was also Jasmine in Aladdin.
Is it a remake or a reboot? See, a remake is when they take the same thing and just redo it in modern time and don't care about how you feel about it, and they end up ruining two movies at the same time. A reboot is when they take just enough of what you like and mix it up and do it again and give you the
add
same
a little
story.
bit of youth and diversity and sell you the exact same thing all over again. We just watched Jay and Silent Bob reboot.
I did, and it sucked because the whole time I'm watching, like, I'm making comments, and Brian's like, yeah. And I'm like, dang it, it was James that watched this movie.
Yeah.
I was like, James, where are you?
Dude, that movie was hilarious.
It was hilarious, but it definitely was like, it is meta to be meta to be meta.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's being.
And then, I mean, on a serious note, I had a little bit of a teary-eyed breakdown moment because I've been dealing with some stuff, and it comes into scene with Ben Affleck. When he's just talking about your kids and being like your little, like, your own kind of reboot and everything, and I was just like, man, this actually, like, hit me really hard. Like,
right.
And I'm sitting there thinking, like, dang, like, this is some good stuff, babe.
Did you watch the
the credits?
The credits?
Heck yeah, I watched the credits.
Ben Affleck was the bomb as Batman, yo.
Yes. But so all right. So we're gonna jump into Supergirl, and then we'll come back for some news in a minute. But James, give them a quick kind of summary note of what the first episode's about.
So, season 5, episode 10, the bottle episode. It's our first episode back after Crisis, and Supergirl continues to deal with the aftermath of Crisis and the chaotic new threats that it brings, while Brainy must face a personal battle when he meets his displaced doppelgangers that survived the merging of the multiverse.
So, first off, I liked seeing Jesse Rath's acting ability in this episode as the different Brainies.
Yes, that was cool.
So, I have to admit, my notes for this I don't have because I wrote it on paper, and sometimes my daughter throws stuff away. But thinking about this episode, the stuff that really stuck out to me about this episode was, one, we learned that Sean, he's able to help people remember, like we saw in Crisis, the pre-Crisis universe, okay? Two, we learned that Lex made a deal with the Monitor to protect Lena, so Lena has all her memories. So that whole thing that we were talking about the idea of Kara and Lena restarting their relationship and what they can do, is just out the window from the beginning.
Yep.
And Lex has a really good kind of speech and conversation with Lena about the whole idea of just starting over and dying. He forgives her, and they're going to work together. And we finally get a name for what her project was. And it's Nam Nacheri or something. They say it so quickly, but what her Q-Wave thing was, and now they're going to work together. And it's interesting. It's pretty intense. I'm not going to lie. It is seriously intense that, Lex and Lena are kind of together now. And Lex is the good hero that everybody loves.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, I'm glad that they gave him the in for the season and for possibly continuing forward when we get the Superman show as well. Kind of, it gets John Cryer's Lex to be the businessman and the widely viewed hero of Metropolis and stuff, as a businessman and a philanthropist, and but we know that he's this evil version before we even see him do it, him become that. He's this evil version, and he gets to pretend like he's not. So he really gets to do some horrible things and hide it.
It's so awesome just because it's a way of jumping backwards and kind of giving us the Lex that we've all kind of wanted to see.
It's the Lex that, we wanted to see Michael Rosenbaum get to. Because he's like the beginning version, and then this is where he would be in 20 years.
Yep. And we just never, we ended that story before we could get to this part. So, and I'm intrigued by where they're going to go, because I keep thinking to myself, how long is Cryer going to be here? When does he bow out? But yeah. So I'm intrigued. But yeah.
Yeah, it's certainly good to have him back and have him as the this Lex that's not just hiding, He's hiding in plain sight.
I mean, he's awesome. But anyways, so he's got Lena on his side now. And Kara comes and confronts Lena and goes to talk to her, and Lena basically shuts her down like, I know everything. And Kara, once again, is kind of like, oh, well, okay. And I'm just like, man, I kind of wanted them to kind of get a chance to, talk and work together and just, really carve out something. But we'll see, because we still have a whole heck of a season to go.
Yeah. She's, there's time, especially with Lex being here. There's time for her to turn away from Lex, and maybe give Kara a chance. Mm-hmm. Because we know Lex is gonna have his own thing.
Oh yeah,
he's gonna be proved. Yeah, he's gonna prove to be more evil than even Lena wants to be partnered up with.
We still have a lot of Lex Luthor to go as far as he is obsessed. So Lena says to him, she says, so you were working for Leviathan? And he goes, who's Leviathan? And we learned that Lex was never working for Leviathan.
Yeah, only Eve was.
And I found that to be pretty dang awesome. That Leviathan didn't even cross Lex. So, what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, that's interesting. Like, they didn't even cross Lex. They didn't need Lex, or they didn't use Lex. Like, were their goals? Like, what were their goals when it came to? We still don't know the end game. I mean, at one point there, he was trying to cause an extinction level event. Rama Khan was. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, I don't think that was all of Leviathan's goals. I think that was kind of his alone. Mm-hmm. 'Cause we got the blonde who's dealing with stuff. She had something different in mind at the time. And so, I mean, hard to say really.
Right.
I don't know. This Leviathan is something completely different. We have no clue. It's just a name, literally just a name. I don't think it draws anything else from the comics besides a name.
Yeah, it was really kind of I don't want to say bait and switch, but it was like, we had.
But nearly.
I mean, yeah. I mean, when this episode when this season started, we had just we had Event Leviathan happening, and then it just ended up being really nothing. Like, I don't know. I didn't like it. I don't know how you, like, we've talked about it some. I wasn't a huge fan of what they did with Event Leviathan.
No, I mean, it was 6 issues of Guess Who, and I mean, the only thing that was interesting was the 2 different types of teams that were trying to figure it out, mm-hmm. and their different different methods. But I mean, really, beyond that, it wasn't. There wasn't a whole lot, and yeah, it was pretty weak, all in all, and yeah, there's not even. there's not even a huge aftermath yet out of it.
Right. It kind of just reminds me of like, you ever seen the movie, why am I drawing a blank? Role Models with Paul Rudd?
Yeah.
When they're camping and the guy's trying to tell the ghost story and like he it was Philip, and everybody's like, who? He's like the pizza delivery boy from the beginning of the story, and everyone's like, oh, that's kind of what it was. We're like, who is this guy? You know, like we had no clue, but that's digression. So yeah, this Leviathan is just, it's its own thing, and I don't know. It is what it is, but I don't know. But so this is going on, and the main story is, if you are following along, we learn something unique, and what I like is, so we find out that basically Brainy is going to get him and Nia's morning coffee and runs into another Brainy. And there are multiple Brainies because somehow there was a wormhole in this one spot, and there's like these doppelgangers from different universes that were pulled in. And it's kind of neat because we get multiple Brainies, but also we get a female Brainiac 5 that's actually played by Jessie Rath's sister. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And do you know her other connection to the, what do you call it? So his sister played...
Being Human?
Yes.
She was the ghost in Being Human?
Yep, where she played the ghost on Being Human alongside the great Sam Witwer, and who, of course, was Agent Liberty and Doomsday on Smallville, and alongside Sam Huntington, who was Jimmy Olsen in Superman Returns. So, small world. But I thought that was just a nice little touch that she was there. So, anyways, so we learned that Brainiac, our Brainy, and they call him Brainiac 5. Or no, sorry, Brainiac Prime. Has in... why can't I talk today? What's like a personality dampener.
Yeah, he has personality inhibitors. That's what the 3 dots on Brainy's head are.
And
because
yep.
because Coluans were intellectual and scientific, and they had invented the method of shrinking planets and bottling planets. And his Brainy's mother had shrunk a planet for him. And actually his dad didn't believe in that because it's like cold. They literally, bottle and abduct a race of a planet full of beings and everything. And so his dad didn't agree with that type of those methods, that type of behavior. And he was afraid that Brainy would go down the same path that his mother did, have that type of evil, I guess you could say, in him. And that's when he put those personality dampeners, inhibitors on his head.
And which I thought was awesome because it totally showed us that Brainy just had a whole different side. Like that's why he was the way he was. And man, it was just like a wow moment. And because they even made the comment, "You're not even green," and I never, I thought, oh, this is just the way they're telling his story, because when we met, what's her face, Indigo, in season 1, she's not green.
Yeah, she was blue.
So I just thought, hey, this is the way they're choosing to go. But no, we learn that this is where we're at, and it was awesome because as the episode goes on, we're getting ahead of ourselves just a little bit. We learned that there really is a bad Brainy who actually bottled his planet during the crisis. So technically, his planet still thrives, and he wants to release it. And I'm like, that's pretty awesome. Excuse me. And I thought to myself, like, that would be really cool if you thought about it, because then you could have saved more planets if they would have thought about it.
Right. Well, that's a purely Kaluan technology as well. So, and Brainiac 5, that's not something that he does or that he uses or, perhaps is even capable of. I mean, maybe from the 31st century, he knows and could know how to do it, being from the future and being a Brainiac, but it's still kind of a prohibited action.
So, and the guy wants to release it, and the bad Brainy, and they're trying to stop him. And we learn that he needs to work with Lex Luthor in secret to do it. And his sister, female Brainiac, tells him this. Oh, yeah, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Dang it, Tyler.
What are you doing, Tyler?
I know. So basically, to defeat his evil Brainiac self, he removes the inhibitors and he turns green. And his hair turns more blonde. And he's in a new, straight up Brainiac-looking costume. And it's really awesome. And
yeah,
I was kind of like, wow, okay. I feel like now I'm connecting with Brainiac. And it was really awesome just to see this. And
yeah.
But anyways, what we find out is the other Brainiacs are alive, basically rejoin the big brain by joining Brainiac Prime, Brainiac 5 Prime, Brainiac 5. And the 3 dots now become the 3 other Brainiacs, on his outfit that he's combined with. And they're on his uniform and not on his head. So I thought that was pretty sweet. And
yeah, where we get the 3 dots again, but this time they're on his body that way.
So I was pretty cool with that. I like that. And I mean, that was pretty much the bottled episode. And even the title was funny, just because in movies and shows, in shows when you hear someone's a bottle episode, that's usually an episode that doesn't involve any extra sets, any extra guest stars or extras. It's just your main cast on your already established sets, just to kind of save money.
Yeah.
And so just to kind of play on that, I thought was cool. But,
yes, sir.
But excuse me.
Yeah, that was funny. Just, it being a bottled planet instead of a bottle episode. Yeah, cute little play on words.
And I mean, there's a throwback to the witches that fought against Rain, or brought Rain and fought Kara in season 3. Their doppelgangers show up at that bar, and they decide to wait inside the bottled planet with the other Brainy until that planet can be released back into like the atmosphere or something, which kind of makes me think that maybe by the end of these, maybe by the end of these seasons, the new multiverse will be born. I don't know. I'm still kind of debating what we talked about last week. Because in this episode, Brainiac, this is something we didn't talk about yet on mic, we just talked about in text, states that the multiverse is dead. There is no multiverse. There's just one Earth. And he pulls up his tablet and talks about some sort of specter thing of looking, for the waves that would show the multiverse exists. And I've kind of debated and kind of contemplated this because, as the episode ends in Crisis, we see basically the birth of the new multiverse, which is basically the DC Universe TV shows and Brandon Routh's Superman. And the big one being, of course, Titans, which is a show that still goes on, and Doom Patrol, which proves that Doom Patrol is on a separate Earth than Titans.
Mm-hmm.
Which you and I had talked before back when we were talking and watching Doom Patrol. And then the other one is Stargirl, which is on the new Earth 2.
Just kind of cool how they have the JSA on Earth 2.
Right. So that's kind of right now, that's kind of in my mind as we watch Stargirl and as the other shows progress. And, next week Flash comes back. So we'll kind of see how that plays out. But that was pretty much the bottled episode. It was cool. It was fun. Interesting, how people are using the terms post-crisis now in their episodes. And we're getting some sort of connective wordage. I still, hope to see a little bit more synergy. And on the Batwoman episode, we see that Batwoman puts out a article that Cat co-publishes, that Batwoman comes out as a lesbian article written by Cara Danvers. So that was a little nice little synergy connection of the series so far.
Yeah, I was trying to think what in this episode, stuck out as being on the same Earth as everybody. But I'm sure there was something, but I can't remember it. I don't know. You might as well cut that out. I don't even.
Nah, it's cool. I think that's pretty much the episode. It was fun. It was cool. It sparked some things. It was a brainy focused episode. Like we said, he's kind of forsaking his friends and working with Lex Luthor in secret. And interesting concept. I don't know why he has to keep it from his friends when basically every season's all about, we accept you for who you are, just talk to us. We can work together and, make a plan together. Of course, with Lex being the head of the DEO and everything, it just makes everything more fun and interesting. Any final thoughts on this episode, James?
No, I mean, I like seeing Brainy, because I never liked that he looked weird,
right? The
like
white
blue
hair.
skin and the blue skin and the white hair and and just on his head there.
It's kind of crazy to think about. Like, he's been around now. He's been on it for 3 seasons?
Showed up in season 3 and was there all last season and this season. So yeah, Legion showed up in season 3.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy.
So, yeah, I was never a fan of the look. I was like, oh, that's weird. And I'm kind of glad now they're like, yeah, they wrote it. Those are those inhibitors. And, as soon as he got rid of them, his skin changed, his hair changed. He looked like almost anything you've ever seen of Brainiac 5 from the future. Green skin, blonde hair.
Mm-hmm. It would be great.
So,
it would be great if they eventually bring Brainiac in and they can just bring the guy who played Brainiac on Krypton and just bring that makeup suit.
Right.
Just bring that straight over. I don't know. Like, we could get into this whole debate, but I always like when Brainiac wasn't like the Kaluan. I always like the idea that Brainiac was something, I don't know, kind of like started as a computer, and just over time it kept evolving itself and became self-aware, and it wasn't a race.
Right.
That wasn't till later that kind of concept of being more of like a race of people on a planet, and where that.
Well, I mean, he was still one of the smartest beings on the planet, and he, and he's the one who started to do what he did, collecting information, augmenting himself to become what he became. Like, they were just a race of beings.
If anybody's interested in like the history of Brainiac, I recommend go check out Superman Forever Radio podcast and scroll through the back catalog, and there is an episode on Brainiac. I haven't listened to it in a while, but it's a great in-depth of just Brainiac, his origins, where he came from, the different kind of origins, and it talks about the different ways he's been depicted. Great episode. Good podcast. So we're going to wrap up the bottled episode, and we're going to jump back to some news. So come on, boys and girls. Who is it? If you don't know what I'm referencing, that's okay, because it was nice to see that back on TV. We are about less than what? It's January. We're a little less than 6 months away from Wonder Woman.
Yes, sir.
Which is, after Birds of Prey, is the next DC film. And James, did you watch the Wonder Woman trailer?
I have.
What did you think of it? Tell me, how do you feel? Tell me now, how do you feel?
Well, so my introduction to that song was actually from the band Orgy. Not New Order, I believe is the name of the band.
I think, okay, so I had to go back. I think my introduction to that song was, originally I heard it in The Wedding Singer, which is my favorite Adam Sandler movie, but I didn't realize it until I heard the Orgy song, and then I went back later and I was watching The Wedding Singer and heard it, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
But yeah, continue.
So it is incredibly 80s, like the clothes, the mall, the lighting and stuff. So, I think it's really cool. I think they're going to use, there's a scene where she smashes cameras with her headset, and I think, she uses that to kind of stay hidden.
Yeah, and I mean, it's also the 80s where not everyone has a high-powered camera in their pocket.
Yeah.
Things get...
Yeah, it's much easier to hide, you know what I mean? Besides security cameras, people aren't catching you, you know what I mean?
And even if they do say it, like, if there's no proof, like if she destroys it, she just becomes a myth or a legend,
Yeah. So, I mean, we see some Maxwell Lord.
And I totally
we
forgot.
see some Kristen Wiig.
I totally forgot that Maxwell Lord is Pedro Pascal. Like, I totally
Oh,
forgot
did
that.
ya?
Yeah, just like I knew it. Like, I knew he was in the movie, and then in the trailer when we see him, I totally forgot that was him.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
We get to see, like you said, we see Kristen Wiig, and we see kind of a kind of a glimpse of Barbara Jean, and then we kind of get to see a little Barbara Jean later. I kind of don't want them to show us Cheetah at all in the trailer. I would be okay. I'm going to see this movie, and I would be completely okay if I never see Cheetah in a trailer. James, did I lose you?
No, sorry.
Oh, there he is. Hey, yeah. Open.
Yeah, I'm muted. Coughing fit.
Yeah, I'm okay with not seeing Cheetah just because I would like the reveal. You know, I feel like they all learned their lesson. Don't tell us. BVS, we've talked about this how many times, was basically every nugget of information and everything about that movie was told to us. I mean, how cool would it have been if we would have went in and saw BVS? We meet Gal's character, and maybe
we didn't know Doomsday was going to be there.
Yeah, I mean, think about it.
And we wouldn't have anticipated the death of Superman before the end.
Right. Like, how awesome would it have been if we're watching this and we're thinking maybe she's Talia or maybe she's Catwoman, you know, the way she's talking with Bruce and stuff. And then we get that line, Miss Prince, and we're like, what? You know, and we're just all like, are you serious? You know? And then how much cooler would it have been if we didn't realize what Lex was up to? Like, even if they would have just and then he goes, "You're Doomsday," and then Doomsday pops out. Like, we had no clue or idea that he was in the movie.
Right. Yeah. And like the one thing that gets me about this trailer is everybody's like, oh, it's they're trying to make Wonder Woman like Thor Ragnarok. Like, you do realize like that was a conscious choice. Like, this actually looks like that because it's supposed to be in the 80s. Yeah. Like, that was a conscious marketing choice that had really no bearing on the movie itself. Like, this movie is in the 80s, and that's what, you know, certain aspects in certain places, like in the mall and stuff, they're going to look like that.
Mm-hmm. You know, I kind of feel like this movie is going to be the capper on that 80s nostalgia. And maybe it's just me, but I feel like setting stuff back in the 80s and going back there for movies, I feel like this is the capper on it. Like, we're kind of moving away from that.
Right.
You know, Stranger Things was great with its 80s kind of revival.
The Goldbergs.
Yeah, and I feel like we're kind of pulling out of that. And I mean, I think Captain Marvel kind of tipped it too, that we're at a time now where we're okay with being nostalgic now for the 90s. You know, we James, are old enough now that we want to feel like kids again.
Right.
You know, you and I.
That was 30 years ago.
You and I were real little kids, like my son, in the 80s. And we had the Fallout. You know, like, there's stuff that I was playing with in the early 90s that was Fallout from the 80s. He-Man, Thundercats, you know. The Turtles is that nice bridge because it was 80s and into the 90s. But, you know, it's cool now to do, you know, back in 2013, there was the greatest sitcom of all time that I love called Surviving Jack that came on that had Christopher Maloney in it, and Fox like killed it after like 6 episodes. It's amazing. I got to get it to you, James. I own it.
Okay, I've never seen it.
It was set in the 90s, and it was awesome because like the dude had airwalks on. He was wearing his No Fear shirt, you know, and I'm like, yes, I had that. Like, I'm like, you know, like, so I just think that, you know, Wonder Woman in the 84 is going to kind of just tip like, okay, cool. Like, we're kind of done with the 80s. But it's also, like we said, it's a really great time because it was pre-internet, lots of cameras, so that Wonder Woman could have had an adventure that kind of just it happened, but she still kind of was in the shadows while it was happening, you know, holding up her, you know, kind of walked away from man or whatever. But we do get to see Steve. Chris Pine's back. You know, can never have enough Chris Pine. And there's tons of theories on how he's back, and that's cool. We get to see the Iron Eagle armor. Isn't that what they called it? The Golden Eagle or
Golden Eagle or something like that.
Looks like we're going to have some flashbacks to Themyscira for Diana. So, I mean, that's exciting. And, of course, we see her with her lasso, and she lassos a bolt of lightning and rides the lightning.
Yeah. So she's not supposed to have her shield or sword in this movie either.
Yeah, she doesn't, which is cool because I think it gives her an arc. You know, it changes her dynamic up. Plus, you know, everyone's trying to move away from Justice League and what was done.
Well, when it's beasts and otherworldly type stuff, it's kind of a different thing. But
yeah, I mean, when you
can at a point where she's just fighting like people and soldiers and stuff like that, it's not going to be. It's a step up from what she did. She came to the world in the first one, soldiers, war. You know,
she had her shield.
She's a different person.
And it gives her kind of an arc if you watch her movies leading back to that. She redons her shield and sword in Justice League, you know, and in BVS. So, but Wonder Woman looks great. Comes out in June. You know, some other news that we kind of have just been behind on because of being sick. Thank you, flu shot. Talking about that, we got officially The Batman started production today. It's going to be released 6/25/21. I'm pretty excited about it. We'll hold off talking about The Batman as we wait to get more news, confirmation, and some imagery. It might be the first Batman film I can take Solomon to see in theaters. That'd be pretty sweet, you know?
Yeah.
We're going to get The Suicide Squad coming out 8/6/21. And Black Adam comes out 12/22/21. So next year, we're going to have 3 DC movies. And technically, if we want to get technical, James, okay? Hold that thought. April 1st, 2022, Shazam 2. July 1st, 2022, The Flash. December of 2022, Aquaman 2. So we'll get, you know, in 2022, we'll have 3 films. And that sounds awesome until I think that how old I'll be when those movies come out. And I'm just like, dang it. But, I mean...
I feel you.
But, you know, I'll definitely be able to take Solomon to see all 3 of those movies. And I highlight those movies because the fact is... if you think about it like this, this is gonna blow your mind. When Birds of Prey comes out, and Wonder Woman 84 comes out, and The Suicide Squad come out, even The Flash, Shazam 2, and Aquaman 2, technically they're all post-crisis. Because we know that world existed and re-existed or was part of the multiverse and the new multiverse. And how that's going to play.
Yeah.
So we
could give them an angle for a soft reboot kind of a deal.
Because you know how everyone keeps trying to tell us that Wonder Woman 1984 is not a sequel or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, it is. Like,
yeah, they just say the DCEU needs fixed. I don't think so. I think the issue that needed fixed is fixed, and that's the studio with the constant knee-jerk reactions every time a movie comes out and it didn't make $1 billion.
Yes.
So
exactly. And you know, we have a director finally on board for The Flash. I think having Ezra appear in Crisis is kind of confirmation that they want to take his character serious and actually work with it. You know, Andrew Muschietti, which makes a pattern of horror directors coming and directing DC properties with Aquaman, Shazam, and now The Flash. So it's going to be interesting. The slate, it's looking good. You know, The Suicide Squad is a soft reboot, but yet they say it's not. But the nature of the Suicide Squad period is it gets rebooted every time because members come and go. You don't get like 3 or 4 returning characters and tell me it's not a sequel. Okay, it doesn't.
Right.
It doesn't work that way. But yeah, I mean, that's some news for now. There's some more coming up.
Look up in the sky.
Look up in the sky.
Look at the sky.